Hello and welcome to another week of Showtime with Jordan von Haslow and friends here on Hot 702.5 FM Las Vegas. Today I have an old buddy of mine, very talented director and writer who's patching in from around the world. As a matter of fact, he's in Ireland now. Jonathan Kesselman. Thank you so
Hey,
much for joining me. How are you?
thank you. Good, man. Good to see you, and thank you for having me. And yeah,
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here. Right? I thought about you the other day, and I was like, oh my God, we haven't caught up in forever. How long have you been in Ireland? Because I feel like the last time we like spoke, you were still in LA.
yeah. It's been about 2.5 years, I think. It was we came here in 2018 in May, something like that. And yeah, it's been 2.5 years. I was in the States a couple times over the summer, but it's just for work. So I was in and out. And I should have. I don't know if you're in LA or not when I was out there last summer, but it sounds like you're not. You were in Indio and or Vegas, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, there you go.
So how
But
have you? I'm sorry, go for it.
no, yeah. So do you want to know why I got here, or
Yeah,
so?
yeah.
Okay, so like you met my wife Suzanne. You know she's Irish, and we had our son here. He's 5 now. We had him here 5 years ago, and I thought we were moving here because we have a home in Dublin and a home in the village where we're quarantining right now, like in a village called Omeath, which is a coastal, middle of nowhere, like rural Irish sort of town. And we had him here, and we were living here. Then I got a job in Atlanta for 3 months. I was working on Ang Lee's last movie, and
Uh-huh.
I when I came back, she was like, she was isolated with the baby, and she was like, I can't be here anymore. We need to go to LA. I'm like, I hate LA. Went to LA for 2.5 years, and so we re-caught up there, and yeah. And then when Trump got elected, I said, we got to get the fuck out of Dodge. She's like, no, it can't be that bad. And I said, nah, I think it's gonna get bad. I think it's gonna get bad. And we're talking about it this morning. I was like, I call that. Like, it got really bad.
You're like, told you so.
Told you so. Yeah.
That's so funny. So speaking of that, how have you been spending your spring break?
My spring break. You mean the quarantine, or
It's
is that what
exactly
you're
what I'm
calling
talking
it?
about. That's what I'm calling it.
I like it. Oh boy, my spring break. It's less exciting sounding than that. I'm just trying to keep sane. So I was working on a TV show all last year, and it ended like 2 weeks before this lockdown happened. And so
Mhm.
I grabbed the editing software from the office. So I've been reteaching myself how to learn Premiere and other bits of software. I'm writing music with a bandmate of mine in LA, and like just learning Logic, which is a audio production program, and
Mhm.
bought a keyboard, and I'm teaching myself piano, teaching myself Spanish, watching my kid. Like a lot of the days watching my kid because my wife's working still, and so. But yeah, and then eating a lot of food, cooking a lot, and drinking way too much booze at night. Like ridiculous amounts of alcohol at night.
Well, have you
Just
come up with? But has anything really great come out of your creativity over this? Like it's like, oh
yeah.
my God, I had this wonderful idea. Or, oh my God, I wrote
Well,
this
like
perfect song.
so we have a couple songs we wrote, and one I spent last week cutting music video for using all stock footage, and the song we're like a comedy rock band, and so it's a song called TED Talk, all about like how we make fun of TED Talks basically. So that song is now on YouTube, and I sent it out to like just people I knew yesterday, and we're getting a good
Uh,
response. So that's been fun, and a couple other songs are working. We had the music written, but now working on lyrics, and then yeah, and just I mean, it's just fun for me. Music is just, I'm not looking for anything out of music. It's not how I make a living. It's just more like I enjoy
yeah,
being creative
yeah.
and doing
That
stuff.
no, that makes sense. Have you been working on any new film ideas?
No, I mean, I have 2 movies or 3 movies actually that I've been trying to get made for a couple years. And I kind of had this thing in my head where I don't want to write anything until one of these things goes. So one of them, we're out to an actor I think is going to come on, and we have some money in place for it, and it's a movie set in Ireland, like an American in Ireland road movie, kind of like Planes, Trains, Automobiles meets local
Yeah.
hero culture clash thing. And so that would be the first thing I think that looks like it would be going as soon as it opens up here. And then Ebert Hammer 2 suddenly has a spark of happiness. I just bought the not only the sequel rights, but I bought the underlying rights from the new rights owners, and they're interested in potentially financing and distributing sequels. So that's kind of cool and exciting. And
Yeah.
but yeah, I just don't want to write any more movies because it's like I've written so many things that are good that don't get made, and it's like I just want to focus on getting the things that I've written made, and then when one thing goes, I'll write something else because what's the fucking point? Oh, like what's the point of writing something just to have no more like one more heartbreak, one more sort of struggle uphill to get something made? Like I'd rather just laser focus on 3 things and
No,
Yeah.
totally. That makes sense. Do you think that this, in the long run, like all of this that's happened, will be kind of um, good for filmmaking in the sense that like theatrical is gonna not come back quite the same way that it was, and so now, like, you know, I know they're all fighting over like windowing because all the studios want to go direct to streaming. Like, I kind of wonder if in the long run if that'll be better like for the content creator, in the sense that there's more output, but I
I
guess it could
keep
be a
hearing,
flip side
yeah,
to it.
well, I keep hearing that, but it's like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, honestly, like for me, I don't, like it's great seeing your stuff in a theater with people, especially with comedy or horror, any kind of like, where like with comedy and horror, it's all about like, getting as many laughs from the audience or scares, and sort of
Totally.
experiencing that is great. And I think doing comedy and seeing it in a theater with people, like the laughs sort of spread and, it sort of feeds itself. But that being said, I mean, for me, like, I just love making movies. I love making people like, and so like, no matter, I don't care how, where they show, I just like, I actually enjoy just the process of it is the real joy for me. You know what I mean? So like, I
Yeah.
don't, I just, it's just hard to get anything made. And yeah, I don't know. I would like, yeah, it's just difficult. So we'll see. I have no idea. I have no idea. I mean, yeah,
So
it's kind
talk.
of a weird black hole of, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess no one does. Talk to me about how you got to film. I think we had this conversation a long time ago when we first met. But how did film come? I know you grew up in Los Angeles, but did you grow
Yeah.
up in like the film world, or was your family like in the entertainment
No,
business or anything?
my mom was a school teacher. My dad worked for IBM. Um, and growing up I grew up in the Valley. I mean, since you've lived in LA, you know what that means versus like, I grew up in sort of like the blue collar, like, where the grips would live kind of. I didn't grow up in like the nice part of LA. I grew up in North Hollywood, Van Nuys area. And I always loved, my dad would take my brother and I to movies. I was obsessed with movies. I used to collect like the calendar section from LA Times when they would have like the year movies or the fall, where I just love movies, but I was always very scared of the business because I met a lot of people in the business who are just, and still are, kind of assholes. It's just a very strange business. So I ended up getting into, yeah, I got into psychology. That was my major in college. But as I was leaving college, I realized that, I didn't want to do neuroscience, which I was sort of gravitating towards. I was working in a lab, and I then saw this documentary on a TV show from the 50s called Your Show of Shows. That it was Sid Caesar's show, but it was like every great comedy writer who's Jewish was on that show. It was like Woody Allen, Mel Brooks, Carl Reiner. I mean, it was everybody. And I just like, it was one of those moments where like, that's what I was put on this earth to do. Like, I want to do that. And I didn't know how to get into it. And so I kept asking people for help and nobody was helpful. So finally I was like, well, I'm just going to apply to film school. And then I went to film school. And again, I just wanted to be a writer initially. And then I got into film school and realized I actually loved directing more than writing even. Like I loved, getting bigger and bigger productions and more people and props. And I like running the show. I like sort of, I just got it's a real thrill collaborating with people. And yeah. And so, yeah. And then while I was in film school, like I did my second semester, I did a short film called The Hebrew Hammer, which then turned into the Hebrew Hammer feature. Like literally, I mean, it was the movie was on VHS, and it was kind of came like a cult sort of thing in the school, USC. People kept asking for videotapes for their lawyers or their Jewish neighbors. And I was like, fuck this. And then at the same time, like USC chose it as like one of their favorite, the archivist chose the best films, short films from USC from 1950 to present. And I was there and it
Like,
chose my movie.
wow.
And it was like, wow, I was like, I should, obviously this idea really fucking connected with people. I should write this. And so over the summer I started writing it. And then as I was writing it, I got one of my tapes went to a friend of mine who his girlfriend or his roommate had a girlfriend who was an agent, something, whatever. Some agent saw it and called me and they're like, this is really funny. You've written anything that's a feature? I'm like, well, I'm actually finishing the feature. And then from there, it kind of just took off. And I like literally, I graduated and went right into making the movie when I was 27.
How cool is that? Like to just get that kind of momentum like that early
Yeah,
on.
and I wish it happened later through my career. But it took another 10 years to get my next movie made. So it's just it's just hard. It's weird, but it was
But
no.
what
I'm glad. Yeah.
What was that process like? I mean, like, so you had this agent who really dug it, and like you had all these folks who were behind the short, and like, oh my God, this is a really awesome concept. How challenging was it to get the feature itself made?
I mean, it was funny. It was yes and no. So initially, everybody who read the script was like, it was like a quote unquote hot script in Hollywood. Everyone's reading it like, this is so funny, but it's never going to get made. It's too Jewish. I'm like, okay, and these are Jews telling me this. I'm like, okay, you Uncle Mordecai, or you know, I don't know. So that kept happening, and then I got a call from, you know, that this guy Mark Platt, he's still a big deal. Mark Platt used to run Universal. He produced La La Land, and like he's a big producer.
Yeah.
He met with me and he's like, I want to do this movie, but it's too Jewish. It needs to be like a Black Jewish comedy. We want to develop it with you. And so I started working with him for like 2 weeks, or his development guys, and then I kind of hinted early on that I want to direct it. Like I've always directed everything I've written, and it was made clear to me that was not going to happen. You know, they wanted this to be like a Ben Stiller, Chris Rock movie, and then at the same time, independent film producer by the name of Ed Pressman, who's like he's been around forever. Ed like produced everything from Badlands to like Wall Street, The Crow. He got his hands on it and was like, "Look, we can make your movie for $1 million total, and you can direct it." And I was like, "Yes." And I'm like, is that even possible? I didn't know, and it was a challenge. It's not a lot of money to make. It was a pretty ambitious movie, so and that was it. I went off to New York and
then there you go. The rest is history. I'm always fascinated with things that become like kind of cult hits. Yeah. Did that happen like just organically, or were you guys like were you doing a lot of marketing of the film when you were first working on it?
It became cult because there's no marketing. So like so we got into Sundance. That's when we premiered, and prior to us premiering at Sundance, they showed the movie. They were very confident in the movie, so they showed it to the buyers in LA and New York simultaneously. And all the buyers were like 60-year-old men, white men, and they were just like freaked out by the movie, and so nobody bought it. And so at Sundance, we go there, and like no buyers are coming anymore, but we were the hot comedy at Sundance. Like people were like shouting, "Hey, Abraham, we're funny singing something." I'm like, "Oh, thanks." I go to festivals. I went to a film festival in Toronto. There's a Toronto Jewish Film Festival. It sounds silly, but there's this Bloor theater, like 800-seat theater, and there's literally like a Blockbuster lines around the block. It's sold out. They did 2 screenings of the movie. It was supposed to be 1. It was like, holy fuck! Like clearly this is, but like, it was a thing. And then, but like it was, no one was buying it. But then Comedy Central had seen it and waited, and then they basically bought the TV rights for $500,000. But their deal was, well, you're going to come out in theaters, but you can't show it in theaters until we show it 6 times on our network first. And we're like, okay. And then we had like literally $5,000 of marketing money for the theatrical, and so nobody saw it in theaters. We're on 8 screens, and back then, when your movie played in a theater, like your box office determined whether or not your movie was like what your career. Like there's all the numbers in the box office.
Yeah.
Like I think millions of people, or 1 million people saw it in Comedy Central a month before it came out in theaters, and so it was this weird pre-streaming stuff where my movie was like, people like your movie, but it didn't make any money. So I was a screenwriter for a while. So I just made my living writing movies that never got made. And that was frustrating. And then, but because of the airing on Comedy Central over 5 years, that's where the people started discovering the movie. Because, and then that's where it kind of just grew from that. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you do after that? Because like you have this kind of like really cool experience where this little short film just kind of takes on a life of its own. You're right out of school, so I'm sure you were like, "I'm hot shit." Like, what happened?
I got humbled. I just did a lot of writing stuff that, and the thing with the studio writing is that these things never, like, it's so hard to get a movie made, and you learn that. But like, so just writing really good things that people would read and like, and then they'd almost go, and then an executive would. Every 6 months or a year, these executives get fired because they make a movie. They say yes to a movie, and that movie doesn't do well, and then they get fired. So I had a project with executives who are like, yes, it's going to happen. If actors are getting attached, and then suddenly they go away, and then people come in, they're like, oh, it's not my movie. Fuck that movie. I want to do my project. So that happened a long time, and I got so frustrated with that. Just I like to make things, more writing is whatever. Like to make the thing is exciting for me, and so I was like, I want to just be on set. So I got into advertising. I tried to get into advertising, so I started doing commercial work, and because I preferred to do that, to be like just to be able to be on set and call, even if it's for a fucking product, like this call action and cut. Like I want to do that. So I did a bunch of that in New York, and and then yeah, my next movie came about because the star and writer and producer of the movie is a comic who's really funny, a great guy named Maz Jobrani. And if you're people listening to your show don't know, he's like, here nobody knows who he is, but if you're like Middle Eastern or Persian in particular, then he's like the comic, like he's like the big Persian comic. And somebody suggested me to Maz because he was looking to do a movie in this similar kind of vein, like a silly broad comedy that's culturally kind of like,
Yeah.
And so I directed his movie in 2014. It came out 2016. It's still a very funny movie called Jimmy Vested, American Hero. But again, it was made for, the Persian community. So it was,
This is very like niche.
very niche, yeah. You can watch it on Showtime, but like, it's still like, it's not, yeah. And, but that was amazing. And that was a great experience. And then what else? I've also, like, I mentioned I had one of the coolest jobs I ever had was a couple of years ago. I got to write and direct second unit on Ang Lee's last movie. So I got to work with Ang Lee and John Toll and all these like legends that I would never, I do comedy. These are like Oscar winning people. And I was like getting to work with them and like be a department head. And it was such a really amazing experience. And it was really good for my confidence in the sense that like, I was like, I can play at this level. This is a $50 million studio movie and I've been entrusted to this big thing. And I'm like, I can do this and I can work with these people and, I can hang at this level. And so, yeah, so that was great. And then what else? Like last year I had another very, very cool job and hopefully it'll be coming out sometime. Randomly, a tech millionaire was looking to do a political or not a political comedy show, like a fact-based comedies. He's obsessed with like John Oliver.
Yeah.
Or, and so, but he wanted to do it like a sketch version of that. And so for a year, he'd been trying to get it going, but he needed someone like me to actually put it together. And so I met him and then he hired me to showrun this show called Gander. And it was initially going to be like this very small Irish thing. And I was like, well, all the comics I know are kind of American comics. So suddenly we have like Lewis Black and Rachel Dratch and, Jay Moore. And so it's a really funny show. I brought on my friend Rob Kuttner, who he won like 5 Emmys for writing for The Daily Show. Like fact-based comedy is his like back, his
it's
back
like his for it.
And so every episode is based on a piece of research. And so we have 6 episodes we did. So the episodes range from things like exploitation of death to like food delivery services, how they're screwing you, to like the cult of work, how we sort of fetishize work. So it's all really interesting stuff based on real numbers and statistics, but it's really heavily sketch based and kind of irreverent, and it's fun. So yeah, we did 6 of those and we're now trying to sell it because initially it was going to be for YouTube only. Then he decided he wanted to sell it instead. And that's that's where it was before COVID hit. And, and now I sit at home, drink wine and write stupid songs.
Everything, right? Stupid fun. So having had all of these various experiences, like doing like the advertisement, now having worked with Ang Lee on his project, is like comedies like where your heart is, or do you are you kind of forming the idea to maybe direct the next great American cinema masterpiece?
No, I've been asking, comedy was what I wanted to do, and to me, like the joy in it is not just the making of it; it's also like making people. Like when I was a very unhappy kid, not the best. A lot of us haven't had good childhoods. I don't have the best childhood, and I was very miserable. I remember seeing it's not the best show, but it was The Prince of Bel-Air, and I was just miserable and depressed and anxious, and then just laughing, and it was like realizing that like someone can make you laugh, you get like pure bliss for like whatever a couple seconds, where you're usually just miserable. Like that's a really powerful thing, to be able to make someone laugh, to bring, that kind of happiness to somebody. And I want to learn how to do that. And so like, I've always, and I've only gotten better at making comedy, and I want to keep doing it. I'd like to have one that's financially successful so I can, but they're always good. They're always good. I can't control the marketing side of things.
What was it like going to Ireland? I know your wife's family is from Ireland, but you're like an Angelino. You've worked in Los Angeles. I know you were in New York for a while. Like, was it kind of like starting over from scratch, or did you like kind of ease into the community there?
Both. So when I first thought I moved out here and I had my son, I signed with a commercial agent. And so I had done like a little bit of commercial work here. I did some spots for Irish Rail, which is like the Amtrak of Ireland. Mm-hmm. And so, but then I went back to the States. And when I got back out, for the first 10 months, I wasn't working because I didn't know anybody, and I didn't, I was teaching. So I got a job teaching at a university called Griffith University. And then, then this job happened. This all last year, I was like literally working 24/7 on the show and hiring all sorts of people. So I've met like the community. Like I know all the really funny people in Ireland now, and they know me, and I've worked like I know crews now. And so, yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm now in this sort of the world here. And I've also done some other commercials since then. So yeah, I feel like I'm now, people know who I am here.
Yeah, well,
So
that's good. Do you miss living in Los Angeles at all?
I hate LA. I went back twice. Went back twice for the show, and I'm so happy I got out. And in New York as well. Went back to New York, and New York was so exhausting to me. Just I met you in New York, and it's just like you got midday or get off the subway. You're like, I'm just sleep now. Like it's too much. Just it's intense. And how
just going out to get your like coffee just feels like an effort.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah,
and it's expensive.
It's expensive as hell. Like I was out there for work, and I was like expensing a lot of things, but I'm still dropping like gajillions of dollars. Just you go into a breakfast place like $25 for eggs, and like what the fuck is that? Like you can't.
Isn't that what they always say? Something like there's like a $20 toll on your front door in New York. Like no matter what you're doing, you're going to spend at least $20.
Yeah. Well, and this is why I love Ireland. When I kind of had this realization, so I've been coming here a lot because when I first started dating my wife, I'd come every Christmas, and the way I would sort of see Ireland versus New York, when you land in the airport in New York, it's like you lose $10 immediately. Like it's a $3 ATM fee to get money out of the ATM machine. They charge you $6 for the cart. Like a copy's $9, whatever it is. In Ireland, the Wi-Fi is free, the carts are free. Like it's just, it's more of a socially minded place. Like even right now with the COVID thing, like I know that in the States, people are maybe getting a $1,200 flat check. Maybe, and it's impossible to get that. Whereas here, like you just, if you're not working, your hours reduced, you just go to the website and say, here's what's going on. Give your bank information. Then every Tuesday, I'm getting €350. I'm getting $1,400 a month just to stay home.
Yeah.
Like it's like do you feel like you're looked after here? Like it just makes me hate. I don't hate America, but I hate what America's become, and and just seeing now what's going on with not only how the fuckface who should not be named, how he handled the coronavirus thing, but the riots going on, it's just.
Well, it's bizarre to me. Well, not bizarre, but what's so strange to me is that it's like all of these things are converging at once. Like this isn't just about George Floyd's death. This is about the coronavirus. It's like all of these things have just kind of like totally bubbled up, and it's like.
Well, I think America's been broken for a long time, and people are starting to realize it, and to the point where now it's just like it's tipping point. Like there's no social safety net. Racism has been a problem since the country was formed, and it's and the police brutality thing has been going on forever, and and it's been in the spotlight now because of cell phone cameras, but then you put people inside with no money, no jobs, shitty police, and you're on edge.
And then they've been stuck at home for the last 2 months on top of it, right? So
and you have Trump and Trump is not helping. He's just throwing gas on the fire. Like it's just it's grim there, man, and it's depressing. Because I still read the American, I read the Washington Post, New York Times every day, and it's just, when I left, it was so stressful to read the paper and constantly Trump, and how awful it is. And it's like on your phone. Now I feel less attached to it. Like it's a little more.
Because you're a little separated from it. You're not like inundated with it.
Yeah, and I feel bad. Like there's a really great op-ed writer here named Fintan O'Toole wrote an article about how Europeans are now just like we used to fear America and be inspired by America or whatever. Now we're just pity America, and that's a shitty place to be. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is the end of an empire, and I feel like it's the rotting corpse of democracy, and I feel like.
Well, that's what a friend of mine, we talk, and it's sort of like every day, like it's like, oh my God, the world is ending, it's over, it was nice knowing you. But then the next day you'll see something, you'll be like, okay, this is maybe a little inspiring, like this is gonna be a good positive change. And then the next day you're like, yeah, no, the world's over.
It's not the world. And here's the thing about Americans. When I was there, it was this way too. Americans are very American-centric. Like I look on Facebook, like most of my Facebook friends are American. And they're making the coronavirus thing like a blue state versus red state thing. You know, don't lock us in. I'm like, no. You understand? Every country in the world is doing this. There's other places. We don't care about your red fucking blue. Like, you know, like we have scientists, smart people here are going. They're not worried about you. They're worried about their citizenry. Going, no, you can't leave the place. It's not being locked in because you're Democrat or Republican. Like it's just. Yeah, it's crazy. Everything's become like, yeah.
Everything is totally politicized, and it's sad. And it doesn't help that this is an election year on top of it. So it's just, you know, I don't know. What's it like? So your kid, right? So your kid has always just grown up in Ireland, right?
No, he lived in LA for 2.5 years with us.
And but like as a kid, but I mean like as a little kid, he was like what, 2 when you guys moved?
We moved when he was 1.
Right.
Almost 1, and then we moved here when he's like 3.5 or 3.
3.5. Well,
yeah.
So okay, so but now like he starts. Is it strange as an American and like having been born in LA to kind of like raise an Irishman?
No, like that was a big reason for why we moved here. It was sort of like I grew up in LA, and it was not a good place to grow up. And I've like a guy I worked with. He's a little like 10 years older than me. His son was in rehab for like every drug ever, and I'm like, I know how that happens. And here, it just felt like he's going to be growing up in a safer, saner place. He's going to have I think it's a better place for him to grow up. And I'm sure he's got an American passport. He can go whenever he wants. And, you know, I just feel like at least to grow up in a place that's more community focused and where people are nice and it's not all about money. Like for myself, getting out here, I mean, when you're raised in America, you have this inner voice telling you that you're only good if money is success. Like, you know, you're only achieving if you're making money, and it's everybody's sort of lording that over you, and you see your face constantly. And I got here, it just unwound me from that. It's more about, you know, they call it the crack, CRAIC, and it's like a word they use constantly. Crack is like, it's the pursuit of fun, like drinking, conversation, you know, music. Like, what's the crack? Was the crack mighty? So that's the important thing here, as opposed to money. And it's like, so suddenly like that feeling like I'm not worthy unless I'm making money or on a job or that I got in LA or New York is gone. It's just now like I love this job I have and I do it, but like it's not who I am. And I want that for him. I want him to be a person first and not like what his identity as a job.
As opposed to like being like an anxious Angelino or an anxious New Yorker who's always got that. That makes sense. So yeah,
I gotta hustle. It's like, you don't have to do anything. You can just kind of, you know.
Yeah. Well, that seems like a really lovely way to live. Has that like now being in that environment and really like leaning into that environment, has that changed your perspective on just like your career and how you go about pursuing things? And
100%. Yeah, 100%. I just stopped feeling desperate and caring about like and also like being in LA, as you know, it's like I have a lot of friends who are very successful in the business, and you see like their stuff on billboards all over the place when you're not working. When you're working, everything's great. You know, when you're not working, it's just like, God, Jesus Christ. I'm like, but it has, like, I'm less caught up in it. And, you know, I do the things that I do because I'm excited about them, and it's not for the money. It's for, because I think this will make a mark, and people are gonna really enjoy this, and I want to do that. And so I do think that.
Totally. So you said you're not going to write anything else until you.
Well, I will take it back. So last year I was the show I was running. I wrote on, like, so Rob was a lead writer. He would write the first pass, and we'd write it. So I did a lot of writing last year. But yeah, I don't want to write another movie until I get one made, just because I have 3 that are really good with various actors attached. So what's the point of me writing something only to get something else in the process of 3 to 10 years to get it made? Like, why not just
kind of focus on what you have and like really hide it?
Yeah. Or something comes my way it's pretty good, and they have money, they want to make it, and or it could be better, and they want to hire me to rewrite and do, like, yeah, sure. But I just want to make things. I don't want to do something just to do it. Like, I'd rather write a song that I can put on the internet and like 600 people see than, like, I'd just rather do that. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, totally. Now, how long have you been? I know you said you're playing, you're teaching yourself piano. How long have you been a musician, and what other instruments do you play?
Well, I play bass. So in my band, I play bass, and I used to play guitar. I've been playing music since I was a kid. My sister's a music teacher, so I just, grew up with music. But the piano I've been playing for about 5 weeks. And so Quincy Jones has this amazing, I'm a show for Quincy Jones. He's got an amazing piece of soft thing called Playground Sessions that I've been using. It's very commercial, but it's great. Like it really, so it's an incredible app. Like it's like kind of gamifies piano playing. And so I'm practicing every day, and it's getting more and more difficult, but I'm learning, I'm getting better and better. And it's something I've always wanted to play piano. I've always wanted to, and I used to be able to read music, and I'm always been a musical person, but I stopped being able to read music, and now I'm learning to read music again, because it's like, if I'm going to do it, I have time to do it. I might as well do it right. And so, but
well, I think that's what so much of the last few months have been about for like everybody, kind of like trying new things and like figuring out like what makes you happy, what would be interesting, or what's this. You said you're also learning a new language as well.
Spanish. Well, so I took 3 years of Espanol in high school, and but I at that time in my life I wasn't really focused on academic. I didn't care, so I kind of just sort of coasted through it. But I had a little bit of a basis of it, and so this another thing called Duolingo. I'm sure you know of. It's like this free language. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. And so initially I was like, I'm gonna learn Gaelic. My wife's Irish. My son's gonna learn Gaelic. It's the Irish language. And I did about for 5 minutes, and that language has no basis in any. Like it's just fucking this ancient. Like it makes no sense. I'm like, fuck that. I'm depressed. I don't want to be like. Go back to Spanish. At least I can have some wins every day. I can feel like I'm actually, it's not everything is brand new. Like so I've been in Spanish also for about 6 weeks, and I'm getting up there. Do about a half an hour to an hour a day, and
I wish I were that disciplined. I'm like really bad. Like I'll start. Like I first downloaded Duolingo when I went to Italy a couple of years ago, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a little conversationally, and I start out so good, like okay, from 9 to 10 a day, I'm gonna do my Italian lesson. Then Tuesday, okay, from 9 to 10, I'm gonna do my lesson. Then Wednesday, okay, maybe I'll look at it for 20 minutes. I like don't have the discipline. It's so bad.
Well, like what I love about that program is they help you. They're like, other people are beating you on the leaderboard, or like, if you don't practice today, you're gonna lose your 35-day streak. And I'm like, oh no, I need to practice. And so like they do kind of help. They guilt you into like getting back into it. Like, but it's not like I don't know. It's just I also like what I've learned about myself over the last 20 years. If I don't have a project, if I don't have things to be into, I'm an obsessive person. And I will turn that obsessiveness onto myself, and that's a real problem. So I'd rather, like I can't get that fucking song down, or I can't figure out the lyrics of this, or this movie, I can't figure it out. Like I'd rather have that as a problem than me, whatever nonsense I have in my head, whatever stories I'm telling myself in my head. So I like getting myself out of my head into something else. So that
makes sense. That makes sense. Is your process like? Are you a very like structured person, like the person who like your whole week? Even working from home, your whole week is planned, or do you just kind of wake up and just say like, oh, play the piano today?
No, it's every day. Like today, my free time, I'm gonna play the piano in Spanish. I don't have anything. I mean, when I'm on a movie, when I'm on a show or a movie, I get very, very, like I'm constantly writing notes 24/7, like, cause I can't remember anything. I'm always like writing notes and like obsessing about what needs to happen and what hasn't happened, what I should be doing. And like, that's nonstop. Like, and I have to like go home and like make a real concerted effort to get myself out of my obsessiveness about that thing. But like right now in COVID world, it's like, I know I want to play piano every day because I want to get better, and I want to do Spanish every day. But I don't have a plan. No, I just kind of roll out of bed later. I roll out of bed later than I want to be rolling out of bed because I'm always drinking at night. And then, so I just want to make the days move by at a better speed and come out of this at least with some stuff, like I learned Spanish, I learned editing software, I learned the music software, I learned, what about you? So, what's your day like? What do you
oh my goodness, my day, I feel like my day is all over the place. I'm like the least, like I said, I'm not detail oriented. I'm not I'm making myself sound so horrible, but no. Like I usually have the type of thing where I'll record the shows on a specific day. I usually dedicate like a day to like, okay, I need to deal with my charity. I'm the board president of the EAA. So, okay, this will be charity day.
What's the charity? Like what
so the Entertainment Aid Alliance, so it's called the Entertainment Aid Alliance, and it was founded maybe 30 years ago by a group of friends and colleagues out of home entertainment, out of the studio system. It was like the height of the AIDS epidemic. And so they created what was called at the time VIAC, the Video Industry AIDS Action Committee. And so they operated as a pass-through. So they'd raise as much money as they could and then give as much money of it away.
Wow.
So cut to like 10 years later, 2000s, it became clear that video wasn't actually a thing anymore. So they changed their name to the EAA, the Entertainment AIDS Alliance. And so I got involved maybe, I don't know, 2017, 2016. One of my neighbors who worked at Warner, she was on the board and she like pinned me down. She's like, hey, my charity's planning our gala and we want to get some, younger people involved with it. And so I said, sure. And I joined their steering committee. And the following year I was elected board president.
Wow.
And so the mandate that I have and what our mission has been is just to expand beyond just HIV and AIDS. So what we did is we dropped the S. So now we're the Entertainment Aid Alliance. And we basically raise money for services for all types of things that affect folks who work in the industry. So for example.
That's amazing. By the way, I'm going to thank, it's very nice that you're doing
thank
that.
you.
Thank you.
Like, for example, we have a fund called the Mark Berman Fund, who was a deceased board member. And basically, it provides emergency grant money for folks living with AIDS. So if you work in the entertainment industry now or have in the past, for whatever reason it may be, so like for transportation, for housing, for medical costs or food costs, you can get an emergency $1,000 grant. And we're in the process of instituting a grant that mirrors that, but specifically for cancer. So if you've worked in the entertainment industry or you work in the entertainment industry and you're living with cancer and you need emergency funding, boom. So little by little, we're expanding.
You're a part of the solution, I'm part of the problem. That's amazing. On behalf of everybody in the entertainment industry, thank you.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So that's really it. And I'm just really bad because it's so easy to stay in the bed, and then you're like, okay, well maybe after The View I'll get up and start doing well, okay, maybe after Wendy I'll get up.
It's fine, man. Honestly, I've had this, so I have a 5-year-old, and when we first started, there's only so many, I'm teaching him to read, but there's only so many hours a day you can entertain a 5-year-old, and 5-year-olds need to be entertained. And finally I was just like, he's watching some TV and I was feeling guilty about it. I'm like, you know what? If I need more glasses of wine at night to get through this, he needs to watch some TV. Whatever. Like, if we're all gonna stay sane, like I can't. This is not a normal time. I can't. When this ends, we'll be back to our routine and we'll be in school and all. But yeah. It's just. I guess the point is you should be easy on yourself, and just whatever gets you through, you should be okay with.
And dude,
Judge Judy or whatever the fuck it is you're watching, watch it, enjoy it, and it's all good.
Has it been difficult? Being quarantined? I mean, we all love our families, but 24/7 is a lot.
Yeah. With
a 5-year-old who needs to be entertained
Yeah, it has been. There are some days that are really bleak and some days are really good. It's just, and there's, when we first started out, there's a lot of fighting because we were all just sort of, I guess, anxious about it, but also like just not used to being together all the time. And then, then you kind of get through it. So, so it's made us stronger. It's also been, it can be hard sometimes. So, but I know from talking to lots of friends everywhere that's the same for everybody. So I can't, you gotta be, I'm quarantining in a place that's really beautiful. We're on the water. Like, it could be a lot worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can imagine being in New York right now in my old shoebox apartment. And you live in your apartment because it was like, your apartment's just to sleep. The city was where you live.
Totally.
Right? And to be in that little fucking apartment and you can't, and just in the middle of a epicenter of a disease, like, fuck that would be horrible.
Yeah, it has made you like kind of rethink everything you always kind of thought was like what you want or what ideal would be. I definitely, when I still talk to my friends in New York, it's like my one friend, she's like, she hasn't left the house since May 28th. And I'm like, oh my goodness, she must be going insane. Going crazy. Because it's not like you have backyards or even anything to remotely allow you to. Yeah.
Feel like you're in nature, or you're just not in this, because I'm sure you've experienced the days and the weeks and everything kind of is very sort of slipping away in a weird way, and like you don't know where you are exactly. Like, every day is like Sunday. It's like
basically. I feel like the last few months has been just one continuous Zoom call. And I never know what day it was. I can never remember, like, wait, did we talk about that on Tuesday or did we talk about that on Wednesday? Or then I'll start talking to people about something that I actually spoke to someone else about, because it's just all just, it's all one big blur. But I kind of wonder though, like, you know, once, you know, the world does completely open up, is it going to be like kind of a shock to people? Like, wait, what do you mean I have to leave my house? Wait, I have to put on pants and like go into an office? What's an office?
You know, just, I do want to, it'd be nice to travel, or it'd be nice to actually just have friends over, you know what I mean? And have like a dinner, just to connect with friends and be not on Zoom, just to, we'll get there. Like on Monday, they're going to phase 2 of the opening up of the society thing. So you can now then travel 20 kilometers within your home as opposed to like 5 kilometers. You can have 4 people over for visits if they're socially distant. So it is what it is, you know? I mean,
what's the mood been like there in Ireland just over the course of this COVID thing?
People here have been really, like, our leaders are really good. Like, it was explained very well to us, and I think the mood is, and also I again, like that payment that most people are getting, that COVID payment, really does help, because you're not stressed out about groceries, and like you can actually live, and rents and mortgages, if you wanted them to, could be stalled. And so it's, we're just kind of like, we know we have to do this. It worked, we had a pretty aggressive lockdown, but our cases are like basically down to nothing at this point. And so they're speeding up the opening up. It's just so it's, it's been tough for everybody in the world, I know, but like, at least I feel like, we have good leadership, and there's some sort of safety net here, economically. And
how do you think, from just a writing standpoint, thinking about like things going back into production, like, do you think that the pandemic and coronavirus is gonna like kind of affect like the stories you tell or how you tell stories? Like, I was just thinking about like makeout scenes and like big crowd scenes, and like have you contemplated that at all?
Yeah, no, I've had conversations like, so the guy who brought me onto Aang's movie is a pretty big producer, and we were talking about it, and he brought up this thing. I saw an article about it called virtual production. So a lot of studios are going towards this thing called virtual production, in which, like, imagine like a car with like a Google camera. It'll go out to like a set, like an Irish road, and it'll take a 360-degree model of the entire scene, and that's the set. And they have these LED panels on a sound stage. The actors can work individually on the stage, and then they'll also scan each actor as like a digital model, so they can do it over the shoulder of a digital model onto another actor, so actors don't have to interact, limited crew interacting. And that, seems cool, but it's also, that's like a studio level money kind of thing. Like, you can't do that as an independent filmmaker. So I don't know. Here they're opening up production, I think, and I think we'll go first. And one of the things I was thinking about is, well, what do we just quarantine everybody? You get all the actors and crew in one place for 2 weeks, and then I don't know. I don't know.
I think Tyler Perry suggested something along those lines, based on the fact that his studio is basically like, I think it's an old army compound barracks. So like they have dormitories, and just talking about quarantining people for the 2 weeks beforehand and for like all of production. It's just so weird, because I just think about life and just how interact, like even taking meetings with people and all. It's like, it's just going to be so strange to see how things are going to move forward, like how deals are going to be made, like how it just feel like everything that we're used to doing is going to change really significantly. And I think it's just really strange, especially in a town like Los Angeles, which is so much about show and being social and interacting and showing off. It's like
I'm actually happy about that. Like, what I hated about LA was, I just felt like you spent your life doing meetings for the sake of meetings. These meetings never went anywhere. They never led to actual income or business or project. Like, it's just, people just want to meet, and it's like, if you want to do that, we still do that, but I'm going to do it from my house on Zoom. You can meet me all you want. Like, do we have money ready to go? We're ready to make the movie? Let's go. Then I'll show up. That I don't mind that at all. And and being in my car 24/7, Jesus Christ. So, I think for a lot of ways, that's good. You know what I mean? But
no, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. It's so nuts. Have all of this various streaming service providers like opened up for business in Ireland? Like, of course, I'm sure the Disney Plus has, and because I've been watching. I'm sorry, go for it.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say. So I got Disney Plus for my son, like just when this happened specifically. We have Netflix. I can't get Hulu here. I tried because I wanted. There's a show called Normal People. That's an RT. It's a big hit out here that I wanted to see, but I can't get it unless I have a VPN on. And HBO Max, I haven't tried, but honestly, like most people, not me, use BitTorrent sites to steal stuff. I would never do that. I would never steal anything that's illegal, and it takes money out of the pockets of everybody in the entertainment industry. So yeah, I would never do that.
I just find it so like overwhelming because like I in like the last like 2 months, so aside from like the Netflix and the Hulu, I got Disney Plus, I have BritBox, I have HBO Max. NBC is about to release Peacock, I think, in a couple of weeks. Apple TV Plus, and I find now like I spend there's too much choice,
too much stuff.
Like, and I feel like I spend so much time just going from one to one, but not really able to find anything.
And I got a free trial for Apple Plus, and I watched like 1 or 2 things, and their stuff is just not. It was like Amazing Stories. I loved as a kid, loved Amazing Stories. And I watched the remake of it or the redo of it, and I watched 2 of them. Like, this is terrible. Like, this is just
I haven't seen it.
So bad. And I think I don't know. There's too much choice, and I don't know what to watch unless it's like I'm hearing about it a lot on social media. So I just watched the Last Dance, the Michael Jordan thing, which was amazing. And if you watched that at all,
yeah.
Fan,
yeah, I'm from Chicago.
Have you seen it? Have you watched it?
I've watched the first one.
Oh, it's so good.
So I'm not done with it yet.
Yeah, I just didn't. I grew up with the Bulls, and I was a Lakers kid, but like I was always in awe of him. But I didn't know how intense and cool. Like he's a really interesting person, and then Pippen and the Rodman thing. It's freaking brilliant. It's really good. And what else? Succession. I finally watched that, and that's great.
So can I tell you, I have to start Succession over because I remember when I watched it when it first came out, and I was totally confused about it because they really promoted it almost like a Billions or like it's this like sweeping family drama. And so I'm watching it, and then like the guy will say something just totally left of center, and I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. And so I tried it, and after like a couple of episodes, I'm like, this is just, what the hell? And it was only after I stopped watching it that I realized that it was a Will Ferrell thing. And I'm like, oh, this is supposed to be funny.
It's so now I want to people are so the people are so awful. They're so powerful and awful, and it's just, and Brian Cox is so mean, and like they're all mean because of him. And it's really great, and the dialogue is really great. Yeah, so you should check it out. I think you'd like it. Well, and season 2 is better, I think.
Yeah, because I realized, I'm watching this from the wrong, because I'm thinking it's supposed to be this like serious drama, and I'm just like, this is not computing. I don't understand. Why is he making that smirk? Why did he say that? But I think I want to rewatch that because
What about you? Is there anything I should be watching that I haven't?
Hulu. You don't get the Hulu, so never.
But I do watch this show called Devs that a friend told me that I think's on Hulu, and
I haven't watched that yet.
It starts off amazing, and then and then once the idea, sort of the sci-fi of it is kind of put out there, it kind of starts going downhill, and it doesn't but it looks really cool, and the tone's really cool. It's just not as good as it could have been, but it's cool. It's worth checking out for sure.
Okay, I'll check that out. I just finished on Hulu watching Mrs. America. I don't know if that's aired there or not. So fascinating. So it's Cate Blanchett, and she plays Phyllis Schlafly, and it's all about the Equal Rights Amendment getting passed. So just this, and Phyllis Schlafly was like very conservative, homemaker, blah 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 blah, versus like the Gloria Steinem. And so it was, aside from the fact that it's like really good, like the cast is like it's like Margot Martindale, Tracy Ullman.
Wow.
Aside from the fact that the cast, it was just really amazing just to kind of watch it from an historical perspective, because like I didn't even realize until the postscript at the end that the ERA never actually passed. So the women's rights. Yeah. And like the last state ratified, like I think it was Illinois, it ratified like this year, but like Senate won't push it forward. And it was just really well written. It was really well acted. And I learned something. And when all 3 of those things happen, it's a pretty good show.
That's great. All right, Miss America. It's called Miss Americana or Miss America?
Mrs. America.
Mrs. America. Okay.
Mrs. America. Yeah, it was really good. And then Little Fires Everywhere was really good too. I think that
the Reese Witherspoon thing, is that what that
yeah,
is?
and Kerry Washington. It was
Okay.
adapted, I guess, from a novel. I feel like she's been killing it. Like I feel like the last few things that she's like attached herself to or she's done has been really, really good. Because I watched that morning show on Apple Plus with her.
How was that?
Jennifer. I enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. I actually, let me say this. I'll go back for a second season. I think Jennifer. Yeah, I think Jennifer is an interesting just because like her personality, she doesn't like lend herself to being like a morning talk show host.
Friendly,
so like she's she's really dry, but I think that her and Reese really interact well together, and I think that the story is engaging. It's sort of ripped from the headlines because they pull some of like the Matt Lauer stuff, But I enjoyed it. But that's about the only thing on Apple TV Plus. I don't even know what they're doing there because they don't seem to be developing anything. They have like 8 programs.
Yeah, I mean, they probably still have enough money to support their programming. I mean, Apple, like they have no money. They're just this broke, poor company. What are they?
Yeah. What's the TV what's the TV season like there? Like, is there like in Ireland? Is there like a traditional like pilot season and all of that jazz? Or?
There's only really one and a kind of a half studio. Like there's one network called RTE, Radio Television Ireland. It's state supported, so it's financed by TV license. So basically, if you have a TV here, you're supposedly supposed to pay like $100 a year to have your TV, which nobody does, and so they don't have a lot of money. And I met with them, and their programming is not great because it's a bureaucratic place. And I think a lot of the reason why people who it's like a state job or government job. So the people who are the executives there just don't want to do anything, and they don't have to because it's a pension kind of thing. And the programming is not really good. And Virgin Media now has a TV station, but they're not really doing scripted stuff. They're doing more like they're buying the Judge Judy's or like sports or like. So it's not, so a lot of the TV is UK TV. So like, the stuff my wife loves to watch, there's a lot of it seems like sort of the house shows, like the house renovation shows or the cooking shows. There's a lot of that stuff. There are some good UK shows, but those shows are usually in America too. But there's not a lot of, I'm developing a show with the company out here. We'll see, with Adam Goldberg in this company. About it's just it's typical standard setup, but I thought it'd be really funny because I live in this small village where there's 500 people, and I'm a weird anomaly. I'm like this Jewish entertainment guy from America. And it's all farmers and stuff here. So the premise is like Adam plays like a stingy Broadway director. He's like really uppity and just up his own ass, and he witnesses a mob hit and gets put in witness protection and sent to the because he's kind of high profile to this little village in Ireland. Yeah, he decides to put on a production of Hamilton with all the local villagers, and so we're working on that. We'll see if I can do anything with that.
That sounds fun. Okay, unfortunately, our time on Hot 702.5 is over, but I want to keep chatting for a little bit. So we're going to say goodbye to our radio listeners, and the remainder of this can be found tomorrow on both our YouTube page and on our wherever you find your wonderful podcasts. And where can people find you?
The Worldwide Media Conspiracy is my company and website, but just because it just came out, check out TED Talk by Better Than the Beatles. That's my band name, Better Than the Beatles. TED Talk. It's a very funny, fun music video and song. So check that out right now. But yeah, that's where they can find me there, or the worldwidemediaconspiracy.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. And I'll hear you guys, we'll chat with you guys next Monday at 11 a.m. right here on Hot 702.5 FM Las Vegas. Bye. Okay, hold on.
Is a hot mic moment? The fuck right? Hot 107 2 point whatever. People are assholes.